Hello there, everyone. Hello, everybody. Hello, the people of the internet. My name is Robertta Bobbie, and you are joining me again for another segment here on Heartfelt with Bobbie, about Dialogues with Jagero. Today, I have a full crew, a whole panel of amazing, learned, beautiful people. people I have opened up to probably more than I should. I have the beautiful Shaka. She's here, beautiful marketing agency. Na leo tuko hapa ku open up. And then I have Mr. Omondi Ochuka. We share a name, twinsies. My name is also Omondi. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Now you know.
I do.
Mr. Professor, and then Mr. Oduor Jagero, who is in the background looking at us, but you will be hearing his voice as he makes his own commentaries.
Hello.
During this conversation.
Hello.
Today I want us to get a bit deep. And we were having a conversation, one of those conversations where you just get deep, and then you realize, oh my God, the camera should have been rolling. This is a whole podcast. And we said, let's just record it and open up a bit.
Hey everyone, I'm super excited to share something amazing with you today. This video is brought to you by Lemfi, an incredible app that has become a game changer to families in the diaspora sending money to Africa. If you have friends or family in Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, or Uganda, Lemfi makes it very, very easy for you if you are living in the USA or Canada and you want to send money directly from your card. So the good thing about Lemfi is that you do not need to top up any wallet at all. And the best part is that there is zero transaction fees. Transfers happen in just under a minute. Lemfi offers competitive rates, which means you always get the best bang for your buck. If you download the app with my referral link or enter my referral code DWJ, I'll say that again, DWJ, at sign up and make your first transaction of over $100, you'll receive $20 cashback. And don't forget about the rewards program. You can earn points with every transfer you make. The more you send, the more points you accumulate. The best part, you can easily turn these points into cash for your next transfer. Thank you very much and welcome to DWJ. Dialogues with Jagero again.
And we were talking about how things we went through in our past or the way we've grown up is starting to show up in adulthood. Some of the things we've been through, trauma, experiences, things we've gone through with our parents at home or even with our friends in our relationships, we're starting to see how it slowly seeps into the other areas of your life, like your finances, your business, your life, your parenthood, your adulthood, all these other things. And that's what we're here to discuss. So karibuni sana guys to Heartfelt with Bobbie. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this question around. Anyone can answer it. Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel as an adult that you still require validation from your parents? Okay, let me choose. I think I'll start with Shaka. Do you ever have this feeling that you want love from your mom, from your dad? And I ask this question because as we were discussing off camera, truly realized we've not had the best experiences, with our parents growing up. In our families, we've been abandoned or neglected in some ways. And sometimes hanging out with people like Jagero, and then you see how he's doing his parenting, how he's very present and deliberate and intentional with his kid. Or even Mr. Ochuka, who's a parent. Me and Shaka are not parents yet.
I think Bobbie's always overestimating me.
Do you think
I am? So?
Yeah, I think she usually overestimates me as a parent.
But I'm just talking about what I see.
I don't think so.
Ochuka is probably closer to the family than Bobbie. What do you think?
I am because you were raised by ironclad patriarchy and...
Ironclad patriarchy? You're overestimating my father, grandma. Okay.
So now what you do with Maya is really beautiful. It's very present. Yeah, so I think Bobbie's not very wrong because I have experienced him more than you have. And I admire what he's doing with Maya, and it's present, it's graceful.
And for you to say that as a parent, as well. So it must mean something.
It's a model that I actually pick from.
I think it is now validation.
Oh, so when Roberta says it,
When another
when a
parent
woman
says
says it,
no.
He was looking for a male voice, male gaze.
I was going to go there.
men only listen to men.
I'm here to cause trouble.
I was just thinking that you are the contact that you've had with me and Maya is a bit
It's more deep in there.
is more here and there than so probably sometimes I want to get it from somebody who is really who is
Okay, that makes sense.
But turns out it's an all right
It's true.
assessment.
It's an alright.
All right.
Yeah. So now, Madam Shaka, answer for me
Hey,
the
madam.
Dumb.
Yeah, you still need validation. Like, I think I need
question. Okay, yeah. What is it that
validation.
you need, and what does this validation that you feel like you're still seeking as an adult who's growing from your parents? If you try to make it tangible, like what can you really say? This is what I need from my mama. This is what I need from my dad.
I think in an ideal world, it would be every time I'm taking a risk, because I've realized I'm like a business risk taker. And just even in general, like I just like taking risks and seeing, okay, what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, if we die, Sinisa, we'll start again.
Yeah.
But I think it's every time when I'm taking a risk is to know that it's okay. It will be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now I don't have anyone who has that for me, you know. Because the people who have very present parents, and even when they're trying new things, they know, even if it goes badly, even if it doesn't work out, they still have that, you know, you tried, you know, they'll tell you tried, you did okay. You,
Like a safety
you took a
net to
step.
go back on.
Yeah, and even if things went wrong, it's fine. Like, we're here, we'll support you or whatever. I'm jealous. Yeah.
Yeah. Ochuka, what do you think about that?
About what Shaka meant. Or
About not about Shaka. About
Yeah, you cannot say all these things.
do you feel like these things as an adult now that you need from your parents? Do you feel like there's a validation you're still subconsciously or intentionally chasing consistently? That sometimes you just wish, man, I wish I could call my mom. I mean, I wish my dad could just give me this. Do you have moments like this as an adult?
Yeah, I think I do, and it goes to, I think being open and seen. Yeah, being open and seen, because I don't know my father, and it's a terrible thorn in my history as a person, as a man. So I also don't like how my family handled it. There's a lot of confusion around it. There's a lot of mysteries, a lot of lies and silence, especially silence. So living my life, I often felt that history might repeat itself, and it almost did, particularly when now I had spent the first 5 years with my daughter, and now they had to go to Sweden when her grandmother on the other side was moving to Europe. So I felt my daughter would leave her most crucial developmental stage not knowing who the fuck the father was. Did he even care? Why did he allow me to be separated from him? And those questions do come when people who are guardians to your life do not navigate your truth around your birth, around your growing, around your development with integrity and openness. What do I mean by that? I do feel that sometimes, because as a parent, you are tasked with guardianship and therefore decision making that will impact this child's life lifelong are on you. But oftentimes, parents do infantilize children. They look at them as this helpless kind of a thing, and therefore when there is a time that is needed, or a time when truth is necessary or needed by the child, because that is where now I base my where my validation comes from, especially the teenage years where I started questioning. So who are my birth parents?
Where did that come from? Did you always know that you don't know who your parents are? Like, what kind of paint the scenario?
So this is the picture. I grew up with my grandparents. I didn't always know they weren't my parents.
You thought this was mom and dad?
Yeah, this was mom and dad until age 7. And how it happened, it fractured that reality. So when that fracture happens, you begin to question, was this love all real all along? Or was it sort of a performance to keep me safe from something? And you see, that's where that infantilizing comes from. Because were you thinking that I'm so much of a child I cannot take the truth? And what was the dangers of just telling me, when your mother got you, we did not know your father, or your mom got you with a dad we didn't like, or someday we will tell you. And when that moment comes, when I'm older, that happens. But that moment came and I'm older and it has not happened. So I feel like I have lived through my life sort of wanting to buy out that love from particularly my grandmother, because she is the closest to the person I know would know the whole spectrum of truth about my life. So I feel like I'm always wanting to earn her love, her gaze, like and her trust that I can take this without injuring her love for me or my love for her. Like I can take the truth about who I am, whether or not they know my father or they do, I can still love her by knowing the truth about what happened.
Do you truly believe that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I feel like I was a very sensitive child. I never liked injustice. I never liked maths teachers who used to
take PE.
I never liked them at all. And at some moment, I used to fail terribly in classes so that I would be in solidarity with students who never used to perform very well. Because this is the background. I'm autistic. I'm on the spectrum. So it was a bit challenging to like study, because I was a very slow learner and my speech was not developed well until later on at age 7, 8. So that challenged how I used to learn and how I used to socially connect. So the things that used to be very good for kids, I never used to do so well with them. I liked reading. I liked brooding in my room. So I didn't like how cruel the world was if you were divergent, if you were different.
Yes.
I also didn't like how cruel school system was for if you are not gifted academically. You could be doing very good in sports. You could be a very funny and charming and warm person, but that the world would not care about that. You know, yeah. So when I saw injustices, particularly in school systems, in boarding school, particularly a Catholic boarding school, it angered me so bad that I wanted to be these people that the school system had condemned, so that I can be in solidarity with them. And you see, this is sort of also me performing a love.
To get any sort of attention and validation.
Yes. And then it got to a point where I hacked my learning skill, and I became very good at it. I was very good at math. I skipped 2 classes, class 3 and 4, and I went to class 5.
Ooh.
So then I started excelling extraordinarily so that I could earn my grandparents' love, because they were educators. My grandfather was an educator. He was a lecturer. And my grandmother was a teacher at some point. So I badly wanted to excel so that I could gain their gaze. So I feel like that also is a part of a validation that I still continue to do so even today. And since we are talking about...
Is that why you're a professor?
Yes. And to just wrap it up, it's also something that I am also unwittingly have been extending to my daughter. Yeah.
Let's hold it there.
Yeah.
I want to ask Jagero, who is off camera, but he looks very handsome. I can see him for you guys. So, Jag, how do you navigate being a parent who is very different from what you received as a kid? And I ask this in let me explain. You grew up without, the kind of validation and okay, we all know, if you watch this podcast, you know what we're talking about, but like you grew up without the love and, you know, attention and validation that a kid should primarily have as a basic need, yeah? So as a parent, tumeanza kwa kukusifu, venye you're such a present, available, amazing dad to your kid. Where did you learn this from, and how are you able to navigate? And also, do you also still feel these feelings of, I wish I can be seen by my parents. I wish my parents can choose me. I wish my mom saw me. I wish my dad, you know, healed himself for him to be able to be here for us. You've gone through that. So how do you navigate? And how do you navigate, especially being a kid who's coming from such a background?
Yeah. So...
Umeelewa swali yangu?
Yeah, nimeelewa swali yako. I think
Nasi moja.
Yeah, I wanted to first of all say that women out there do not care whether you are handsome or not, or whether you appear on camera or not.
Okay, he has money.
No.
He has money.
What do we care about?
He has a dollar account.
I don't know, man. So anyway, there is a story. I was talking with my sister sometimes late last year, and she was telling me that she would like to buy a dress for my mother who has passed on, and she would like to build her a home, even though she's not there. So I think that she saw the way my parents lived, and they were not in a very good place. And I think she has always had wanted to put them in a place that would not be, not too much shame. Okay? But then I also, but I also think that what was going on there is an issue of validation from the parents, even though they are no longer there. Right?
So this is happening even posthumously.
Yes.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So I think that, by the way, I think that I did not have, I always say that I do not think that my parents did not give me the love that I need. I think my mother was very present in my life until her death when I was in college. My father, on the other hand, had his demons. Sometimes in life, I think when you have your demons, you attend to them more than you attend to humans and loved ones around you. Especially when they're chasing you down and haranguing you. The English people say the word, I like that word a lot, harangue.
I'm hearing it for the first time.
You are hearing it for the first time? Yeah. You are hearing it for the first time in Shaka?
No.
Yeah, haranguing. So I think that when you're being harangued by other things around you, you tend not to care for the people that should be demanding your love or your care. It's not an excuse.
So it's not an intentional.
Yeah, it's not an excuse for whoever is being chased by the demons. It is a situation and it's a fact on the ground. So when somebody is saying that you have abandoned your children, that's a fact. As to the reason why,
it's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
It's a different thing altogether. So both of them are valid reasons for why those things happen. For example, if my father was an alcoholic, and I don't think he had extra time from his alcoholism to look after me. What am I checking?
Because nacheka, I'll ask you this question later, but mimi nimecheka kwa sababu we were also talking about how as you grow older, you start to develop a crazy level of kindness and grace and patience towards the people who hurt you, whether they did it intentionally or not. So I like the way you're explaining, because it shows you're able to see what your dad was going through without harboring the anger and the bitterness.
Can I ask him something?
Yeah.
Did you always have that perspective? Like when this thing was happening in real time?
Yeah.
Did you at some time felt resentful towards dad?
I did not like my father at all, because his presence was always very chaotic. His presence brought a lot of chaos around it. One of the things that I will never forget about my father was his constant disrespect to the person that I am. So this is what he would do. We have a marketplace called Harambe Market, which is about 2 kilometers away, or about 1.7 kilometers away. And Nyakach, where I come from, can be extremely sunny, like really hot and sunny. And this guy who'd send me for cigarettes, he knows that he will need 2-3 sticks of cigarettes in a day, but sends me one. And then I come back, and after 3 hours, I have to go back to Harambe. And then in the evening, I have to go back to Harambe. I'm like, dude, you have the money. They have cigarettes.
Maybe he was trying to quit. And then the urge comes.
And he finishes and
Then he's like, just go again.
we sure.
Give me a last.
One last chocuelo.
No. It was just lack of empathy. It was just lack of empathy that this kid can also get tired.
Yeah.
It is sunny, it is hot. If you want cigarettes, if it's you that wants to quit, then it's your problem. Go have it and put it near the river, and then go for it when you want for it.
Yeah.
You see, so those kind of things. And he was very oblivious to that fact. And I think as a parent, you should really try to understand your children, and their pain, and the things they love, and how, because you should be able to interpret your child, and if you're not able to interpret that this child is hungry, is tired, should not be going to Harambe 3 times in a day while he can only go once. See, there's a problem there.
Yeah.
So it creates a lot of bitterness inside you. All right? But then to answer Ochuka's question is that as you begin to grow, you begin to see demons in people that were close to you. Yeah? And then you might decide to forgive them. You might decide to do whatever you want. But for me, I just want to separate the facts. That perhaps this person did not hate me. But the things that he was doing, he was so blind to those things. He did not take their time to understand what a child is. Some people think that children do not have a heart. They do not form opinions. They do not get hurt. Like, you are doing things to children and you think they don't know. And they remind you 30 years later that you used to do this to me.
Yeah, on this night.
Yeah, they remember those things very clearly. Yeah. Even if you watch those documentaries in American documentaries, you see how children can remember things that you think they would forget. Yeah. So I think that is, I would see it at the moment, but when you begin to grow up, then you look at those things, right? And it is neither here nor there to excuse them. But what I feel like happens with people is that as you begin to grow, then you are telling them that is your life. You fucked it up, you messed it up, you are now dead, all right, goodbye. But now I am here, and now I have a daughter, and now I have a son, okay? How am I going to treat my wife, for example, even though you saw your father batter your mother? Are you just going to lead your life blindly and say women should be beaten, all right? Or you saw people sleeping around in their marriage and then you are doing the same thing because you saw people doing it. It's tempting, yes, but you have to decide the kind of life that you want to live. And so you just read a little bit about parenting and say that children behave like this when they are 3 years. They begin behaving like this when they are 6. They begin behaving like this when they are 12. When they are teenagers, they begin to do you know as a parent that a child is passing through different stages of life? And what do you know about those stages? How do they behave? How do they talk? And I think that is the most important thing. Like, for example, I keep saying that, for example, when we got married, my wife did not have a say in our marriage. She was mostly quiet and letting me lead. You see, at some point in our marriage, my wife completely changed and started demanding things for herself. But then as a man, how do you start reacting to that? Do you now say, wewe ulikuwa na nyamaza siku hizi kuna tongo? or you are recognizing that she has matured as a woman,
And she's
and she's trying to make her own decisions.
yes.
Because sometimes my wife tells me things and I'm like, hey dude, those are two large horns.
Yeah.
But then how do you deal with it? Do you start beating her because you can, or do you take your time and sit down and think about what she has told you, and then come back later and say, I heard what you are saying. This is the direction that we should go. So I think it is just a matter of using your common sense and not throwing away your common sense. I think most of the time people throw away their common sense, and they also throw away the idea that I can stop for a moment and listen and hear what this child is saying. This child is saying, like my several times my daughter has just come into her bedroom and said, I don't want to go to school. And then I just tell her, okay, forget it. You go back to sleep. And then, I've told my daughter several times to go back to sleep. Fuck school. And then in the afternoon I realized that this girl was being bullied by another boy in school. So mimi kama ningemwambia tu vaa uende kwani shida yako ni nini? But
She
then
feels very unsafe.
But then I let her be there. And then in the afternoon I ask, what's going on with school, Maya? And then she tells me that there is this guy who is bullying me in school. So now you take it from there. But sometimes if I had told her, get the fuck up, go to school, I don't want to hear, I would not have known. I would not have known that issue of bullying, because she would have zipped up and tried to deal with it by herself.
Yeah. You've brought out so many things. I want to hold you there for a bit.
Yeah.
I want to ask Shaka. Drugs mentioned demons. Nah.
Demoni.
From the little bit you've told us about your family and the background that you're coming from,
Yeah.
is it demons ziko na ziko hapo?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, when you're going through these things with your family and you're inside whatever situation that you're going through now, how are you navigating it? How are you navigating seeing your parents treating you the way they're treating you versus you imagining the kind of parents that you would want them to be? How are you going through life with just, like, what are the kind of feelings also that you're carrying with having such parents? Are you still in a phase where you're like, maybe you're able to say, oh, give them grace, they're just parents, they're also doing parenting for the first time? Or are you in a space where it's like, fuck them, like, they're parents, they should have known they were making me, they should have known they were creating me, they owe me everything, they should have treated me better, treated me with respect? Where do you think you're at?
I developed a hobby of gardening so that I don't have to think about these things. But
then Robertta is here asking you the question.
Asking me. When you're in the situation, it's very hard to see outside beyond it. Like when the situation is ongoing. I mean, because you're also seeing how other people are being treated and you're like, I don't get it.
Tell me more about that.
I don't get it.
Tell me more, because now you're seated next to a very present father.
Man,
how does it make you feel when Jags is here telling
someone
us,
send this to my dad?
I have to rush. Maya needs this. I have to do this for Maya. I have to do this for Maya. What does it make you feel when you're seeing? Because these are the men we're hanging around, present dads. Even when Ochuka was talking, we said present dad, and then we started laughing about it. So tell me more about that. Exactly that.
I mean, I can't also say that 100% my parents are bad. Maybe they thought they were doing what was right in their minds and in their circumstance and in their life and whatever, and driven by all these things and religion and stuff. But it also doesn't excuse a lot of the things they did at the end of the day.
Definitely.
And what just makes it, I think what hurts for me is that it's like they don't realize that they're hurting you. People can be so caught up in their world, in who they are, especially if you have very narcissistic parents. Both of mine are. They're so wrapped up in their mind, in their life, they, like, beyond their actions, they don't see how it's impacting you. They don't see how you're hurting, or you know, how that could be affecting you. I've come home, you know, Jagero has said something that taken me back. Like, I once came home crying because I had been body shamed by a teacher. And I was crying, and I think I also didn't want to go to school. But the conversation wasn't, oh, what happened, or it's okay, tell us what's up. The conversation was, where school fees imelipwa. Da shule.
Or I'll give you
know,
something to cry about.
Or I'll give you something to cry about. It wasn't, they never even asked, you know, Wagwan, what's wrong? They never even bothered. So when you're hearing how he's treating this situation, actually, I'm more surprised on how he can be so different from how he grew up.
Yeah.
Because for me, I've seen, after like finding out the history of my parents' parents, their parents, I'm seeing that passed down trauma from parents to like now their parents, and they're doing the same thing their parents used to do to them. I'm even wondering how he's able to like disconnect and be a better person. And I'm like, please teach other parents. Because that's something. Because I feel like a lot of us who have been traumatized by our parents, it's just a repetition of what they went through mostly. I found out that even my mom acting the way she was, I found out her mom was even worse.
Yeah.
And her mom was even worse. And I was like, okay, I don't even want to know even further because because it's not giving me hope. So to answer your question, may I just live life, honestly. Like, may I wake up and garden and figure life as it happens? Because honestly, I'm also looking for the answers and the solutions and the guidebooks. Because every time, you know, people are, life is changing, and I feel like I'm evolving and healing, but it also feels like they're not. So it's also hard to meet them where they are at the end of the day. Right now, I'm in between both of the situations. I'm like, I deserved these things as a child, but also I'm trying to look at them as humans who are doing this life thing the first time, you know? But also, we are all humans doing this thing for the first time. So, you know?
And also, I wanted to add something about something that you said.
Yeah.
That should everybody who was perhaps, for lack of a better word, mistreated or felt like they were not treated well by their parents, come around and say that they were my parents, they were chasing their own demons, and blah, 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 and therefore I should be able to forgive, forget, and move on. I think it is not fair to ask people that. Yeah, because, for example, I saw on Shaka's video, the comments were saying that you'll one day be a parent and you'll see. That's bullshit, really.
It's invalidating her reality.
Yeah, because if somebody is stuck at being hurt and does not know how to move on, then I don't think it is fair to keep telling them that you should be able to forgive your parents. They didn't know what they're doing. I think that's a case by case. Once somebody have realized that, okay, this what was going on, and I want to move away from it and forget about it, fine for somebody like Jagero, you know. But you cannot expect that of every person that has, because I think that the things that I went through, there are people who went through worse, much, much worse. So for me to go and tell them that, you know, your father put you in the basement and whipped you and left you there hungry for hours and hours, you know, na ulikuwa unajikuna huko, that was your father chasing his own demons. So don't worry about it, just forgive him and move on. I don't think that's fair. All right? So I think that when people have decided that it is time for me to move on from what my parents did, or they are still hurting, they are in the process of getting help through a therapist, let them go through that process, you know? And I do not believe, again, that you should do things because somebody else before you did them. That you're going to be caning your kids because your parents caned you. And some people say some crazy things. That's why we are like this. That's why we are tough.
Very common amongst millennials.
Yeah.
And Gen X.
That is why we are tough. No, that's not why you are
You
tough.
are traumatized. You're not fine.
Yeah,
You're
so-
not even tough, really.
Yeah.
You're just
You're-
coping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ochuka, I want to pick it up from, you said you're starting to see how the things you went through are seeping in or repeating themselves in your parenting, in your parenthood, yeah? So talk to me about your daughter, about what is it that you see that you went through, that you started being afraid, oh my God, I'm doing this to my daughter, I'm doing it, it's happening, this is happening. So, and then also what made you decide, hey, I can't let this happen, I have to do something different? And how did you execute, you being different and changing so that things can be a bit different?
I became a father when I was very young. I was 19.
Oh, that's a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a baby raising a baby. But I was not the typical male child who's 19. I think I grew up really fast. Based on being neurodivergent, I had to take care of myself a lot. And then at some point, I also had to take care of my younger brothers and cousins.
Did you always know you were neurodivergent, or did you just think something is weird? These people are not like me.
People didn't always know, but mine was it was hard to miss because my speech delayed. I was awkward. I would have bouts and bouts of anxieties and periods where I was so sad because I'm finding it hard to fit in. And when now there was this bloom that was coming in, when I was now beginning to learn better, it was exceptional for a child that young. And back then it was harder to find pediatric psychologists or people who
Even
would,
just
even today,
diagnose,
yeah.
yeah.
So there was this Indian pediatric psychologist at Aga Khan. And I remember my grandmother doing a lot of trips. And even back then, there was like, you did come around. But back in the community, especially in the village, he was like, he would be dumb, he would be mute at some point. Or, those people with Down syndrome, like there was that condemnation happening. So I'd say it wasn't subtle, it was very apparent. You could actually see that this child is very different. And kids love bike riding, they loved running around. I never liked that, climbing trees. Mine was different, and I felt like I needed more intellectual stimulation or creative expression. Those two were very key to me, as opposed to the next kid who wanted to watch TV. I never liked TV at all. I liked music. I liked playing music, playing piano with my grandfather, or guitar sometimes on Sundays. So that set me apart. So I'd say it wasn't subtle. It was very apparent. The second point is the reason why I said at what age I got to be a dad is it comes with the background of having taken care of my younger cousins and brothers, and also having taken care of myself in a very far lesser ideal situation. The ideal situation is if you are a normal kid, you will find more fodder to enjoy. You will find more playthings to do. But now you're different. And therefore, you either have to perform like ability or a mask.
Yeah.
It's like you're living fragmented worlds. So when you're with your friends, you try to appease to them so that they don't bully you, or at least you find favor in them. And when you are alone, you feel isolated. Why can these kids who are my age not enjoy what I am enjoying? So you begin to build self-muscle. And that's what I mean by taking care of myself. And then comes periods when I'm taking care of, I'm in class 5 or something, and I'm taking care of my younger brothers and sisters, and the parents are not around. And that puts you very farther ahead of the curve of most children. Because in this, in this particular household, I'm the bigger person. Mindo daddy, mindo mami. So when my child comes, I'm not a typical 19-year-old. I'm still young, yes, and there are things that a 19-year-old ought to go through with me, but I'm not young in the essence of a 19-year-old boy. So I think when it happens to me, I would say I never really envisioned having a child, at least not that early. So when it happens, I remember it putting me on notice. Yeah, on notice, like every other thing that you have dreaded happened to you. Now it is your chance for you not to let them happen to this child. And I was so overprotective. We would go to the clinic. Every slight fever, when Nikki was feverish at night, I would be so concerned. It was more of wanting to control every outcome. And that drove me into the first instinct of fatherhood, which is to be more overprotective. And I'll explain why that came by later. So I was so overprotective, I was so concerned, I was so dreading the fact that I don't want to miss any moment. Because for me, deadbeating or being unavailable emotionally started with consciously departing from presence, from not being there, from missing a moment. So I never wanted to miss a moment. But that hyper-vigilance is also not very good because in parenting, there is mistakes, there's learning. You learn through discovery because this is a first time. And even if it's a second child, you still learn, just like what Jack said. Every child has a significant signature to them. And you have to, as a parent, be deliberate in terms of understanding and sifting through this particular child is like this. They're not like Omondi, they're not like Jags, they're not like you, Bobbie. This child is like this. Even though they grow in the same household, even though they came from the same womb.
Parents.
Yeah. So I was very frightened in terms of what I didn't want to be, the kind of father I didn't want to be, so much that it made me more overprotective. And I feel like how it appears now with the world is I still extend excellence a lot. And this is very funny because Oduor and my cancer journey are sort of like twins. She was born in the same year I got diagnosed. So the horrors of the first 4 years, which were very difficult in my cancer journey, are also entwined with her. And so sometimes I feel awful that I was very helpless in terms of not protecting her from that. And just like Jag said, and this is something I think we share a lot, many parents do feel that children are so young and so naive, they never actually absorb what happened. But I do feel because sometimes she tells me things that happened when she was 6 or 5, and I'm like, are you sure? You didn't read my diary. You know,
how does she know?
How do you know about that?
Yeah.
And I realized that children can pick up so much.
Absolutely.
And children are they're sponges. They absorb colors and these vulgarities of life. And if you're not careful, you will be the first person to wound them so much that they will spend the rest of their lives trying to mend that patch.
I mean, look at us, adults, having a conversation
About the exact same
chasing
thing.
validation from our parents. And Shaka, I want to ask you, how are some of the ways you see yourself actively chasing validation in the things that you're doing? I mean, there's that in the business, but how is it also appearing in other aspects of your life? Or do you even think it is showing up in other aspects of your life?
I mean, if you ask me, outside I think I focus too much on business lately. So outside the business, it's very hard for me to see, unless, people who are close to me tell me from the outside looking in how I behave and stuff. Because right now I can't see it. Outside business, I can't, honestly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe someone should tell me.
Friends of Shaka, leave comments.
Don't leave the comment. No.
What is the question that you asked?
Come to the DM.
I asked, what are some of the ways she's able to see the way we are still seeking validation? Like even your sister, she's doing it posthumously when your parents are not even here. So what are some of the ways she's seeing this chasing of validation in other aspects of her life, and does she think it's even happening? So I think I'll transfer the question over to you, Jags. The same question. How do you feel like? Do you feel like you're still chasing the validation as well? Do you feel like you would? Okay, I know your answer, but just tell us here.
What's my answer?
I know your answer because I've asked you this question before, not because that I live inside your head.
No. Honestly, I think that I have sort of overcome it one way or the other. And I think that after you've lived for some time and you're forging other relationships, slowly you tend to let others go. But I tell you what, when I was in college was the height of my quest for validation. And that validation was coming out from a place of so much pain. Because when I was in college, my mother died 5 months into my college. And then that is when I became a total orphan. And the other thing that I thought, the people that I thought would validate me after that were not my parents anymore. They were my relatives. So when I was coming from the village to come and study in the city, there were very many relatives of mine in very high places. One was actually head of department at your school, Strathmore. And then there was another one leading a very big organization. And then they were spread around town. And I thought that this is the child of my cousin, is here in the city to go to school. This is the child of my uncle, he's here to go to school. And I thought that those people were going to sort of come out and help me, because I was basically having completely no money, no pocket money to go to school, no school fees whatsoever. And we were living in a house that was an okay house, but there was no food in it. So the gentleman that we were living with was always going round, because we used to work for the railways. So they were just hitchhiking the rail. They were just out and about all over the place. And he would not come. And his wife was not in town. So he had no, need to ask, hey, mnakula nini huko ndani? So there was nothing. So I think, and then when I go to school, the parents, both parents, not one, but both parents were coming to visit their kids in school. And I think I've told you this, that there was a very good restaurant
above your school.
Above our school. And then when these parents came, they would take their children over to that restaurant and eat chicken and chips and soda. But then before that, they were going into the principal's office and talking about how their children were doing. And sometimes you could actually see that they are actually in the office discussing about the child. And so the care and the warmth of two parents coming to Nairobi to visit their child, and you go back to that classroom and you know that you have no brother in town, you have no mother in town, you have no father in town, you have nobody in town, you're just alone. And you're thinking, I am so alone. Like, at some point, I was so lonely in the city that I didn't know what to do. And I was young. It was terrible. And that is when I started having a lot of anxiety and very bad episodes. At some point, I think I was going mad in town because I didn't know what to do. Some of these relatives that had gone to request for help had turned me down. And so Shaka was telling me that I don't know whether Shaka was the one that told me that they don't think about a tribe when they start talking to this about our life. But you see now, and it is being in the city that started telling me that, look, this thing that you've been told about tribe does not actually matter, because your uncles are not fucking helping you.
Yeah, and you want to win.
And then, and then I am in this school and I have written a letter to a lawyer principal. And the person who has told me to write this letter to the lawyer principal is the Kalenjin. All right? And then it is now the lawyer that gives me scholarship for 3 years, and it is the influence of a Kalenjin. Okay, and I was telling you the other day when you assumed that I am always, having this snide comments about the Kikuyu people.
People were calling you tribal in the comments. Jagero pendi wa Kikuyu. But it's not true.
And I was telling her that is when the walls of tribalism just started, poromokaing. Because the Luos were not there at all. And when I finished school, then I started being helped by Boniface Mwangi, who is a Kikuyu. And I just started meeting people, and my books are being bought by the Kikuyus. But then after college, and I got married, and I started having my own life, it started going down, slowly by slowly. So now I do not know where I get validation. It's not very clear where I get my validation. So perhaps right now I could be, even when it comes to a podcast, I think I need some validation, but I don't think I need it from my parents. Yeah. Maybe I need it from the people that are watching. And and I think this is the problem that has come to the fore. When I make steps and people are validating me, I am struggling with it.
Yeah, you don't know how to receive it.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it because the time for validation is done for me. I have gone through life and bore through hard walls, and it's sort of on the other side. So now, when you tell me that my podcast is perhaps doing well, I am not responding properly. When Lynn was telling me that, Jagero, you need to take your flowers. And even yesterday, I was at a hotel at the clubhouse, at that house. What is it called?
K1.
No. Next to Lavington Social House. And then these American people came, the military, they were there. And they came to me and saying, Jagero, your podcast is amazing. And I'm like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
Yeah, but it's genuine confusion.
It is, I'm confused. Like, perhaps the feeling that, am I good enough? The fact that you are not good enough is still seeping through.
All this.
It is still seeping through. Even in fact, now that answers the question that Shaka was struggling with. Because for me, that validation is now. I am not looking for it. It's coming, and I'm not receiving it.
You don't know how to.
You don't know how to.
Yeah.
My question is, before I move on, do you think you're healing or avoiding?
Like my.
Like, do you think the reason you don't need validation is because you're good?
It's not correct that I don't need validation.
That you say you don't need, not that you don't need.
No. I do not think that it is needing. I think it's just in receiving. Like, how do you treat and appreciate validation? You did not have it before. And now it is on the table.
In abundance.
Yeah, it's in abundance.
Are you doubting?
Have you guys walked with Jagero? You can't go anywhere with him.
It is so true.
We were having a conversation with him, and he was starting to believe that Kisumu is such a hot mess of gratitude and love, and he was struggling to receive it. Because every corner in Kisumu, Jagero. And he don't know how to receive it.
You don't know how to receive it. You think they are bullshitting you, but no, they are not bullshitting
you. Don't believe it.
You have had tens of millions of watch hours on your channel, and these people are actually recognizing you. But when I was in school, I was minute. I was a dot. Nobody knew about me. You see, I did not have shoes when I was in school. I did not have proper clothing when I was in school. The girls did not recognize me because I didn't have the money to take them out for chips. But now they are all over me. How do I deal with this shit?
Do you feel like it's fake, or are you just having a problem?
And this is what I think. That I do not, and that's the confusion. I do not want to say things are fake or they are real. They are there. You can see them.
They exist.
How you interpret it is your own problem. So that is my problem. That is not people who are coming to me and saying, hi, Jagero,
Yeah.
you know, and loving my content. If I have a problem and I think they're fake, then what does that say about me?
you as a person, true.
So it is everything to do with me and how I am getting out of that. But that is why I keep saying, like the other day, my wife was resurrecting that thing of friendship. Yes, the other day telling me that, are you sure you have not changed those hardcore, your hardcore position about friendship? So I think it's just that. And I think that the best thing for you to do is to just chill down and hear the noise and see how you go around that noise. That is why I don't want to say, my channel is small. I freeze and just think about it. And then somebody say, Jagero, say thank you, Bwana.
Before I ask my next question,
Yeah.
I want to talk a bit about how I seek validation.
Yeah.
Nobody has asked me, but I'll tell you.
You are the owner of the show. That's the problem with being the owner of the show. Tutakuta
We are very sorry.
For me, it's in the very subtle ways. I didn't have present parents because I talk about having two dads because I have a bio dad and the dad I grew up with. My bio dad was not in my life. He is present emotionally, like he'd call for birthdays, but he's not the dad who was there. So he was very absent.
what does that mean when you say that he was not in your life?
He didn't live with us. I didn't even know he was my dad. But he would call. He would call like during birthdays, graduations. Everyone knew this guy was my dad except me and my dad, the one that I grew up with. So sikuwa naweza relate na yeye as a father daughter, but now looking back I can see how he really tried to be there. Like on special dates for graduations, he made sure he'd at least call. I can understand why maybe he wasn't allowed to be around, but then that's none of my business. I don't want to get into that right now. And then this other dad of mine was very there in the house, but very abusive and very horrible. So my dads weren't there at all. And then my mom had to take up being a mom and a dad. She had to be there financially, emotionally. And what that does as a woman is that it really, really strains you. So my mom was also never there because she had to make sure that us guys were eating and us guys had, a livelihood. So
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah, sure.
Because the other day Onyango had put a very long post about his father and his mother. And one of the things I've realized is that when we are talking about our dads and the things they did for us, a lot of people are asking Onyango, what did he do, dude? Like, tell us what he did, because you're just yapping about your dad being a bad man and you're not telling us what he did. So I think sometimes, so for example, when you say that your father was a horrible man and he was not present, like, what are the specifics?
Okay. My dad was a drunk. His dad was a drunk. And then, I don't know if this is a community thing, but I see it a lot in the Luo community. Even the estate I grew up in, the households with Luo fathers were very abusive. Very, very abusive. Like, it was very noticeable. I could tell the Kikuyu dads were okay. There was no shouting from that household. The Kamba dads were okay. There was no shouting from that household. But the Luo dads were very violent, including my father. My father was very violent. He'd come home drunk and he'd beat all of us.
Why is Shaka looking at me?
He'd beat from my mother to the house help, to his kids, to the pets.
Everything on the good side.
Everyone. Hakukuwa na bagua. I always joke about how I wasn't his kid, but he hakukuwa na bagua ati ana treat his son better. Hata mimi nilitwangwa vile he beat even his biological son. Tulitreatiwa the same. We were all abused the same, from the pets to the house helps. So
Ochuka, do you think that because for me I always think like there is a Nilots have a different kind of patriarchy.
Yeah, they do.
And misogyny. It's deep. Like
they do. There is a kind of abrasiveness amongst Luos, Kalenjins.
Yeah.
That's why I was talking about ironclad patriarchy. Yeah.
Talking about what?
Ironclad
patriarchy.
Yeah, it is intense. Like, if I look at my extensive family. Yeah, those guys are really violent.
So
and there's also the prideful what are you telling
Nature.
me? What are you telling me? Who are you? There's that lack of introspection and empathy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's what I really find a lot going over there, and I don't know culturally where it stems from.
Do you think it's a colonial thing?
Especially, no, it can't be colonial in any way. It can't be colonial. It's just that it's just the way especially women and children are often bundled together in a very interesting way. Like you are all the same. Yeah, they're all the same. They're all the same.
Okay, so some of the ways I see myself seeking validation is moments where, okay, I'm very, can I say hyper-dependent? I'm very independent. I've grown up in an environment where the women did everything. The women in my family are very self-sufficient. They've built homes. They've educated all the kids. Yani sisi wote tumegrow with everything we need because of the women. From my shoshos to my aunties to my mom to everyone. So in my family, nobody waits for the men to make decisions. Nobody listens to men. That's why I think I struggle with ati. This man is saying this, Miss Jatoka place you skiza men. The women are the ones when you kusema na ondo wanna make mountains move. So growing up in this situation, when I hang around, say, the Ochukas and the Jageros, it shows me that there's a clear lack of something, which I wouldn't maybe primarily see if I was just at home. And how me seeking this validation or how I notice these gaps is, I'll be sitting with my friends and my friend will say, this month, let me call my dad. My dad will pay my rent this month, Manzi. This month sees his struggle. And I'm like, damn, you can call your dad to pay your rent. And that's such a normal parental thing. Like your parent can't pay your rent. That's your parent. Such words have never come out of my mouth. And it's not that I need my parent to pay my rent. I'm able to do it, but my goodness, how nice would it be if I could just call my dad and tell him, Daddy, this month, Shaka, can I just, In the small things like this, times I need to change my curtains. I'm not saying these are gendered roles, that these are things men should do, but imagine how nice it would be if I could call my dad and ask him about tools. Things like plumbing. I have to call the caretaker to arrange with him when the plumber would come. But if I had someone in the home who had taught me, and I know right now what Shaka is thinking. Shaka is thinking, just Google. Just go and buy tools and Google how to use these tools. But it makes such a big difference when there's an active, present parent who can tell you, Bobbie, this is a screwdriver. This is a... tools zingine. This is a... tools zingine. This is a pliers. This is how you use it to turn the knobs and whatever. This is how ini msumari yenye unafanyia hivi. Now I have to call a whole other man, let him in my house, which is very uncomfortable as a woman who lives alone. But it's very uncomfortable because even when I call the plumber, I have to notify my mom. I have to notify.
Is that so?
Yes. I have. If there's a man coming to
my house,
this is a
man's world, man.
Yeah, and you see how men go through life thinking.
We don't have to think.
Just calling a plumber in my house, I have to notify my mother, 2 friends, and hopefully invite them when my friend is over. Every
time. Shaka, do you do that?
Every time.
I usually have people who are aware when someone is around who is a stranger.
Even when the gas guy is coming, I have to tell my mom, the guy who brings the gas or the Majia dispenser. I literally have to call my mom and say, mtu wa dispenser anakuja. So in case anything happens, you know where to start looking. Whereas, if...
Ochuka, did you know about this?
Yeah, it happens.
Did you know about that? They call people that a gas is coming.
Yeah, they do.
You have to. Even when your daughter grows up and she's
on
living
a date
alone, she will have to do these things. Even on a
public
date ni
space.
crazy. Date lazima utume live locations.
Yeah.
You tell everyone in your circle even weeks beforehand.
Do you
have to share
do
their
you think
Instagram.
Do you think, Ochuka, that a guy who is bringing gas gets to the doorstep and gets in, and in that moment he decides that, she's alone, I can have a party?
No, you're missing the point.
Yeah. No. But I'm not missing. I am asking from the point of the man.
Yeah.
So that the fear is valid. You getting what I'm saying? Because somebody might like okay, I am saying you are overreacting. All right, people of the internet, I hope that you're enjoying this episode very much. And I just had a break to tell you about my new book. You know, everybody says that there is no job, and that is true. Also, that was me 10 years ago. The problem is that everybody is trying to get a job in their town, in their city, in their marketplace. They ask friends for jobs, mothers call uncles, uncles call brothers, but there are no jobs. Let me tell you what no one is telling you. Jobs migrated online. What I actually mean is there are many, many jobs around the world, and there is no one to do them except you. I work for Americans myself. I work for Europeans. I work for the Chinese. I work for the Australians. I work for the Canadians. And so, because I have done so much for myself, I said to myself, you know what? I should compile what I've been doing for the last 15 years. So in 2024, I wrote a digital book called Goldmine 18 Hustles for Africans. And then in 2025, AI came. People say AI is taking away our jobs. And for me, I'm going to say false. There are actually AI jobs. Jobs are not being taken by AI, but there are new jobs online that are there because of AI. Now, mimi ni nani? I created more jobs. And for now, in my new book, we have 25 online and offline jobs that you can leverage on if you do not have a job. So in this powerful volume 2, I share 25 new actionable online hustles specifically researched and tailored for Africans. My new book provides clear step-by-step guidance drawing from my extensive experience and research, including the mistakes I've made and lessons I've learned over the 15 years that I have worked online. So, what can you do online? You can become an executive assistant for busy folks in Europe, America, Canada, and get paid for tasks like watching videos and taking online surveys. Okay? You can build a lot of things. Build a business as a virtual assistant, start an e-commerce shop without capital, be an affiliate marketer, or you can also become actually an English tutor and tens of AI jobs. If you have a job, that is fine. But I also know that you can buy this book for that brother, for that sister, for that mother, for that cousin, for that husband who is watching Netflix all day at home. Buy it for your friend who is always asking for cash. You know that friend. Now, all the information is on the description below. You can also inbox me, you can WhatsApp me, or go to my website, which is oduorjagero.co.ke. And now, back to programming.
And the reason why I said you're missing the point is we live in very different worlds from women.
Yes.
And I think owing to the fact that abuse and violence and danger and risk as often come from men towards women. And it's very hard to determine whether it's going to come from Jagero, Signolo,
or the guy who brings
Mato,
my water.
or Matowagas. So women are constantly living in this hyper-vigilance where you do not know, and it's very uncertain where danger and risk is going to come from. So I feel like why they're doing that is they're trying to lessen that danger and risk. Or if at all eventually it happens, unfortunately, then there's a way to start from, there's a place to start from. And so looking at, you could invite me to your home to fix a fridge, and you would not have the same
thoughts or fears.
Yeah. You probably maybe toast tea later, or, bro, do you want to have a beer? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But not the same way, even though some of the men that go to women's houses are friends, and they will still not feel the same way.
Jags, wacha hata kwenda kwa watu far. Someone I know personally came to my house, lives in the same building as me. I don't know if I've talked about this here. And this person, tushaongea, I was watching a show on Netflix called Maid about a woman who has a baby, and then you guys should watch it. It's about emotional abuse.
I didn't like it.
You're boring. So We just like different things. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
We just like different things. You only banter yetu hapa ya office.
Internal.
Don't say I'm mean to Jagero. I don't treat him badly.
But also about the boring part, I feel like the movies I watch are so different, even from the ones my wife watches. Julie will not like me at all on her profile. Because I will watch a quarter and dump, and it interferes with the algorithm.
What is that, surely?
So
she's saying, do the trailer.
Honestly.
Don't watch it.
So this guy is in my building, someone I trust, someone who's come to my house so many times. We even share food. Hata nikipika nibakishe na mwambia usipike kujia food and vice versa. And there's a part in the film where this woman she's being coerced and raped. She's having unconsensual sex. So this guy comes to my house and I literally explained to him the movie I'm watching and about how coercion works and about how people force people into sex and rape. And this person, I have talked to them so much extensively about my fears around sexual assault. So they know how I think. They know how I reason. What did this man try to do? He tried to rape me in my own house. In my own house. He starts trying to blame it on the alcohol because he came with beers, but it was just one beer. Hata sikuwa na feel kitu.
That wasn't the alcohol.
You see, so venye tu Ochuka amesema, tukisema all men hatuna njia ya kujua which man is not.
Oh, I see.
We have no way. I can trust you, Jagero, and I can let you into my space and you try something stupid. And I'll try to explain and come here and tell people, Jagero did this to me. Who's gonna believe me? They might believe me, but there's a skepticism that comes along. Why did you let him in your house at night? Why did you drink a beer with him? Why did you? It comes back to victim blaming. So there's no way for me to know if it's going to be the gas guy or the plumber or the guy who fixes my curtains. So these are some of and someone might argue, I have a present dad and I still fix my own whatever's
bulbs
and stuff. That's not the point. The point is, I feel like I'm always saying this thing about dads are very important. Men and fathers are very important in the society. Just because I might not have enjoyed a father, or I might not feel like fathers are necessary. Right now as an adult, I'm seeing the gaps. I'm seeing even in the men I settle for, in the relationships I'm in. Kuna vitu mob sana uhappen na jambenga. Fuck.
Makes sense.
Ningekuwa na baba. Babangu angekuwa amenipea hii love yenye na chase wanaume wenye hata wafai. Just hearing I love you from your dad. It would have solved so many things in my life. And I'm not just trying to be hard on my dad. At least I'm going on my dad because that's where I see a big gap. I feel like on my mom's side, I've been able to kind of mitigate. And maybe I'll ask Shaka about this. But before that, do you guys feel like this validation we are chasing, anybody can answer the question, just this validation we're chasing, do you think it's an innate need of a sense of belonging that follows you everywhere? Like even if you go live in Europe, kuna kwanga tu na hii kitu inakwambianga tu home ni home. Hata uende wapi. Hata ukienda majuu, uende sijui India, there's always this feeling that tells you you need your people. You need to go back to your feeling. Do you guys think it can be linked or intertwined? Do you think it's the same type of thing, this feeling of sense of belonging and validation that we're chasing? Do you think it's the same thing? Anyone can answer.
Chuka is...
He's gearing up to answer.
Okay, I think I'm going to lean into the spiritual sense because that's what has been making sense for me lately. And even lately I've been reading some books and they talk about go back. If you want to discover what you're really, really good at, go back in your childhood and find out what were the things that sparked your interest.
Yes,
and
yes.
I've also realized right now, like I actually don't like where I live. Like I've said, I live in Rongai, but man... If I could,
Dust.
I would go back to. I really loved growing up in Naivasha, near a lake. Every day I could see the lake. Every day. And there's something about water, water bodies, not water, but water bodies that calms your spirit, you know. So I feel like, I mean, it makes sense. I think spiritually there are things that you attach to in your childhood. And parents are a big part of that. And it always kind of tries to bring you back to that. And also, like, I think the mind is a very interesting thing because your mind will attach to the happiest moments of your childhood and try and bury the darkest moments so that, like, you survive. You know? So if you, like, that's why we say even 100%, it's very hard to 100% not even have one good memory of your childhood. And if you're at present parents, like, it's very hard to not even have one good memory of your parents being good to you. Even if it was just for 5 seconds, even if they just said 2 words, you know?
I love you.
That thing, if you
Sticks
will,
with you forever.
it will stick to you, and you'll always want to have that moment, or your mind will always try to bring you back to that one time you were happy. So I think that's why.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. What do you think, Mr. Omosh?
I think we do dread that which we want the most, and it comes with how love goes through us. And that's the problem. Love is not what goes through us. I think love is how we go through life. So when certain things happen in our primal natures, like when we're children, they're very significant because these experiences introduce you to life, to the larger nest of life. And how and why they are important is because you now want to extend the family nucleus to everything else, to a relationship, to a boyfriend, to your first girlfriend, to your first friend. And most often we carry our wounds into these other relationships, into these other experiences. And so I feel that most things could have been avoided had tenderness been included, had empathy been a part of that raising. And it does not mean that when you have empathy that you cannot make mistakes with your child or with your partner or with your brother or your sister or a friend. I think that sometimes we imagine the totality, the completeness of being flawless, and I think that misses the point.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, it's almost impossible because then again, what is this perfect thing that we are chasing?
What's the template?
Yeah, what's the template
we are comparing to?
Yeah. We always say I'm not perfect, but then what exactly is perfect? You know, so I feel yes, we do extend these fantasies, I would call them, and it gets to a point where you either decide how crippling they can be to your life, because they can be very crippling, particularly when you keep on outsourcing them from another person, from another thing, from another entity about your life. So after a certain age, I feel like somebody should not have the luxury of outsourcing such things, because it means you've done very little bravery of confronting your past or your becoming.
I would like to hear this, but it's true.
And number 2, you have lived your life on a free fall, numbing, running away, trampling upon people, being the very thing that wounded you, whether it is your parent or your guardian or something that happened very early on in your life. Or number 3, you will be brave enough to say, how awful as a person can I be? Many people think that's fault finding, but it's not. When you ask how awful can I be as a person, you're inviting some introspection into yourself to know then how then can I be a better person to Robertta? How then can I be a better co-worker with Jags? What responsibilities do I have in my own personal space that contribute to that which I want, to that community of love, that community of industry, that community of professionalism, that community of love, because love is a community thing. There's the sense of cultivating it at personal self, and then there's also what you translate or interpret with people, with your friends, with your loved ones. So yeah, sometimes I feel like how I seek it from people, honesty has been something that is very critical for me. Like I usually still feel that my grandmother does know my father. So her choosing not to, or her choosing not to dwell, to go into the details of like what really, or what she actually knows. Because I've asked her 3 times, and there was just silence. You know, that blank silence. And it was terrifying to see from somebody you hold on a pedestal.
Someone you think is strong.
Yeah, you hold on a pedestal. And yet, this is also the thing that I'm also looking for, particularly when I look at my daughter. I don't want her to see me as somebody who's indestructible. And when I started writing letters to her, some of those letters were very terrifying. When I asked her to consider, because she's now reading the manuscript right now, and I want her to give me the permission whether it will be just a private collection for her or she wants the world to see it, because some of them were frightening. I wrote when I was regretting having her. I wrote when I felt helpless about not being able to hold my baby when I'm dying and I'm only having some couple of years or months left to live. What is the mind of a father in that space? Does my child, does my daughter need me to be indestructible, or does she want me to show up and tell her that he might die soon, but I'm right here, and maybe the reason why I'm writing for you this letter is one day you might look back and understand what daddy was going through. So most of the time we feel like children, or even lovers, or even friends, want this complete version of ourselves that we end up not even showing up entirely. You understand? There's this thing that we need, there's this responsibility we have towards each other. There's this general decency and dignity and time and space that we owe each other as friends, as lovers, as family. But we end up not doing this because we want to imagine, we want to defer to a time when we are fully complete, when we are fully healed and perfect. That's when we can be friends. That's when we can love each other. And I feel like I like honesty up front because I feel like I was denied that. I like it a lot in friendships. I like it. And it's also funny because it's also something I've struggled with, because I want to be utterly honest, but I'm wondering, how will this person receive it? Will they be like my grandparents who, when I opened up, went silent? And because it has also happened during my illness when I opened up to friends, and instead of saying, I fear losing you, or I don't know always what to do when you're sick, they just went silent. So that leaves you with an atrophy on your muscle, on your love muscle, and you're wondering, how do I exercise this?
You feel like being honest makes people afraid.
Yes.
But then you still want to exist in a space where you can be honest.
Because honesty is intimacy.
Definitely. That's so deep.
Yeah.
Hey,
I actually think that some validation is a cousin of love. And if you are looking for validation, then in a sense you're looking for love. For somebody to say that
I see you, I accept you the way you are.
You have done well for yourself. You know, you are conquering the world, and so on and so forth. Having said that, I think that I am learning to take the little things that come your way. If sometimes you wish you received it from your father, but there is just somebody around
that
is giving you a little bit of that. And I think life is about, sometimes just going even for the crumbs because you are not on the table. And there is nothing entirely wrong with crumbs.
Guys, today tumetoka meeting flani and Jagero came to pick me up. And in the passenger seat was my favorite cake. I almost cried. I almost feel like crying now.
Is that so?
Yeah. I don't think you understand like the magnitude of, I'm getting teary. You'll have to edit this out. But I don't care, you can show it.
You can show it.
The healing. And I had asked Shaka this question because seeing you guys be parents there's a healing it gives. There's a healing. It's in the smallest. I don't think you knew that was my favorite.
I didn't know.
I don't know if you knew.
I didn't know.
I don't know if you knew, but my dad has never done that for me. And I don't think it ever crosses his mind that pali niko nahitaji kitu.
Can I hold your hand?
I'm going to cry more. But it's so... Wacha tu niseme. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned, by extension, that, you... Do I even have the words? Like, just by you doing your thing, whether you know what you're doing or not, it's healing. It's healing the Shakas and the Bobbies of the world. We
were with the Shakas at some restaurant the other day, and then we had a very difficult situation to deal with. You remember Shaka?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before that, this person actually, I asked her, did you tell your mother about it? And she started crying immediately. And being very, very emotional. And then at some point I asked her again, and she told me that I just don't know why. Why, like, I asked my mother about my father, and you can't even say what happened between the two of you. I mean,
you see, that's that frozen moment. Yeah. That's also what I've been dealing with.
Yeah, you guys slept together. You got
you
me,
made us.
Started raising us. And I'm asking you, what the fuck happened between the two of you? Why is it that I'm calling this guy and he never picks up, and he notices me calling him? His daughter, and he does not pick up. And so on and so forth. And so I think those are very, and that's why I keep saying that you cannot approach that person and start yelling at them and saying all these things at you don't know what being a parent is like. What is it like?
Tell me.
What is it like? What is it like? Is it plowing a 1 acre land, a 1 acre farm every morning?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it cutting yourself with blades every day? What is it? Is it having sex the whole night? Under with a gun at the back of your head? What is it? Because I think we need to chop this thing into smaller bits that people can consume. Because you just can't tell people that parenting is hard. I mean, what is hard about it?
What exactly is hard?
Yeah, what is hard about it? If it is the school fees, saying paying school fees is difficult. Okay, saying that having many children is bad for your health. Say those things so that people start knowing. Because when you are scaremongering, is it scaremongering?
Yes.
Fear-mongering. Yeah.
People on the internet telling them that parenting is so hard. Yes.
Dreadful, yeah.
It is so hard, but like...
So he's starting a business.
Yeah, he's so starting a business. And fishing at night.
Yeah.
You're falling in love.
Yeah, I think he was fishing during the day too.
No, during the night is hard.
The night is terrifying. It's terrifying.
Chili and the animals, they are sounds that you will never hear during the day.
Yeah.
So that makes it very chilly and very hard. Yeah. So chop them up and tell people about this. Yeah, but what I keep saying is that let us just take the love that's around us, because that helps to deal with those wounds. And just getting those loves. Like I was saying, that the crumbs under the table is it's just food,
Something, yeah.
Just take it, So and then you begin to just grow up and find other ways of living, because I think life is very complicated. And we are not properly equipped to handle life, especially the life of capitalism that we live right now. Like, I always just say, fuck everything. I am going into my car and driving to the village, and I'll be there for the next 3 days. And I'm not picking people's calls. I'm not coming here. I want to go to listen to the birds, stand on the grave of my mother, stand on the grave of my father, go into the village, pick lemongrass, go do strungi and nuts and eat in my village house where nobody asks for rent. Then I come back to the city, rejuvenated and ready to do a little bit again. So I think that's how you live life, because then life to make it straight is hurtful. Because it's not red hot. So you can't shape it into what you want it to be. You know,
You can only experience.
you can only experience it. And I also think that the choices that we make as people is what is going to determine how hurtful people are going to come from
Into
the
your
things
life.
that we do. Like if you're a parent, if you are getting into marriage, how many children do you guys want to have?
Wanafanya tu try this.
Yeah.
How I make the how free.
Yes, or how many wives do you want to have? And concubines for that matter. Because then those are the ones that are going to get you kids outside. And those kids do not have fathers. And those are the kids that come later into podcasts.
Talking about. I wish I was loved.
That's what the jaggy like. Judge of the jaggy like.
Now I see someone attack and defend himself at the same time.
Yeah?
You're attacking and defending yourself.
It's the same thing. It's just a cycle.
Yeah.
Like the decision that you take today.
But also true, yeah. Very
You know, the sex that you have today is so monumental. You will never know what it works. Like having sex without a condom.
It can change your whole life.
It changes your life completely.
People
It
having
gives
sex without one? Oh, you're married.
true. But even then,
Stop.
I know
Stop.
Shaka is terrible.
Guys, I want to start rapping.
Why do you wrap it up?
Double entendre.
oh, that,
Yes.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
So the thing is that the people that are talking about these things and hearing this conversation, what steps are you taking to stop this thing? To stop a woman coming in a podcast 20 years from now to talk about you as a man who was not in their life. Because that decision, you make it now. You right?
Yeah.
You make that decision now. If you are horny, masturbate. You don't have to put a sperm into somebody by force and raping them. Because by raping that woman, you don't know what you're putting, the weight that you're putting on her.
them that they would live with.
Yes, for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So they are walking in fear because you are horny for 30 minutes for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
You can imagine how crazy that is.
Yeah. Shaka, do you think we're ever gonna heal? Do you think you're gonna heal?
Damn.
I
Do
think
you want to heal?
Damn. Stop.
I think keep going.
yes, I want to heal, but what does healing look like for us as Africans? You know, because that's a conversation we've never had about. Like this, we don't have these conversations, and I think that's why even that episode sparked so much
Controversy.
I've been telling people it is a taboo. It seems like it's a taboo to say you have a bad mom in Africa.
Nobody wants to
It is
To
a
admit
taboo.
it,
Yeah. Even what Ochuka was saying about regretting having his baby. Parents don't have the space to be able to say,
hold
I
that
hate
truth.
being a parent.
Yeah.
This shit is horrible. They don't have the space to be honest like that. Sorry to cut you off. Just
No, it's
go
okay.
on. Yeah.
And I think we need to have more and more of these conversations because, you know, like I think we base so much of our lives on what has been indoctrinated on us from colonialization. Okay, and still continuing. But we also can't ignore who we are as Africans. We can't ignore the things like our ancestors used to do and the things. And I think this thing of bashing someone for saying that they had a bad parent and wishing on them to be a parent, like me, that to me I take it as a threat. Honestly,
It is.
like,
It's a threat.
One day you'll have your own child.
are you threatening me? What is going on? Like what? Because honestly, and why is that an attack also again? And also, why are you using that against me? Like one day you'll be a
They
parent.
wish that upon you.
Yeah,
they want
like,
you to repeat the cycle of
why?
horrible parenthood.
You know, we should be having. We're in 2025. You know, we should be having better conversations by now. We should be having. We shouldn't be victim blaming. When someone comes out and says that they didn't have a good childhood, it's a fact. Fact is fact.
That's the truth.
The earth is not flat. You know, like we cannot be victim blaming in 2025 over things people are saying and that are true and that can be proven. You know, and also I feel like the people who go to the comment section to be like, one day you'll be a parent. Okay, heal. Even though I hate hearing that thing for heal, because also it has been weaponized in a way.
Yeah.
No, okay, demonized, but weaponized in a way, because every time you say something, and even if it is true, and just to say bluntly, people are like, "Oh, heal! You need to heal."
Who hurt you?
Bruv, man. Like, we're just going through. Like,
I was just expressing myself.
I know, but honestly, we need to stop thinking as African parents as gods, because they're not. They're not our end all be all. They're human beings who make mistakes, who damage people, who impact trauma, and they're in charge of other human beings at the end of the day. And you also have to think about, when you have a child, it's not just that child's life you're affecting, it's that child and everyone they meet and everyone else around them. Like me, I've broken a lot of men's hearts, bro. Like, and I don't know how they're doing out there, but you know, that could be impacting someone.
Broken men's heart.
You know,
you've broken men's heart. That's what you say. What did I hear?
Yeah, that's what she said.
yeah.
Heartbreaker, Shaka.
That could be impacting people out there in different ways, you know? By me excommunicating my mom, that could be impacting a third party that I am unaware of.
Yes.
You know, so I think as Africans, we need to stop over-glorifying parenthood and really have the real conversation. Because me as a 24-year-old, I am not looking to be a parent anytime soon. And I also telling you, like earlier, we need to have stricter laws around marriage and around these things, and also having kids, you know. There needs to be way more before people decide to have children, because you're going to be affecting this person for the rest of their life. Yeah. Whether you're there, whether you're not there, you're still affecting them.
Whether it's intentional or not,
you're still affecting them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Professor, say something to the parentless and trying to heal and seeking validation as we wind up. What would you say to the people who, like us on this panel, who are in some way seeking validation, afraid to accept? Is it afraid? Unable or unaware of how to accept the validation? Sisi tu wote kwa hii spectrum yote ya validation yenye tuna chase.
I think life is beautiful when you break it down into chunks. Life was very terrifying when it was still abstract to me, when the grief was still heavy, when I still thought that not knowing about my parents and what happened to them was the most terrifying thing in my life. And sometimes we imagine that love will come in finer details, in finer things that are processed enough, palatable enough to be chewed and swallowed. But I think healing and even the whole full spectrum of being alive, it takes work. And without the bravery of doing the work and the effort and the intention, you will always be just circling around the flower. Not brave enough to touch it, not brave enough to garden like Shaka does, because gardening is work. And gardening...
That's not the gardening she's talking about, but okay.
I still, even if you were to use the same metaphor...
True, still
fits.
What is your type of gardening you're talking about? Because we know some...
The government is watching.
The government has no problem with weed.
The government always has problems.
I think the government has forgotten about weed. They
have a problem when
they have agreed that weed is sort of a good thing for humans.
Have they really agreed?
Yeah, it is only the stupid cops that think that if they see weed, then. But I think that the government as a policy, they don't. They don't They have left it for the cops who want to eat 1, 2, 3 things here.
Yeah.
And the judge was no otherwise but to give judgment because it is law.
Yeah.
So healing is such an ongoing work that there will be no one point in your life when you will sit down and say, I have done the complete job of it. You will always meet challenging situations that will mirror or reflect or even project that which you thought you had sort of become a veteran for. I still deal with a lot of issues of like the why question. Why did the cancer happen? Why do I still feel that it's so hard to open up when I'm struggling to Jags, who is like a few blocks away when I'm struggling, and I could just tell him, bro, I probably need your company or send me some food. It takes vulnerability to reach the other side of love. Love in whatever aspect or form that you need it for. Vulnerability is a sense of it. And I'm not seeing, I know vulnerability has been weaponized in terms of whether it means weakness or it means talking about shameful
Openness.
stuff that have happened to us. I want to think about vulnerability as openness. And because most of us have lived life wanting to go into the world to receive love, instead of saying that I'm open to love. When you're open to love, it means, one, you are accepting that you have the responsibility of creating at least some conducive environment to receive it. At least some sense of remorse whenever you have done a mistake somewhere. At least a sense, that remorse is very important even in parenting. When a child comes to you and says, 25 years later, that dad, you really wounded me this day, that when we were going back to boarding school and you only gave me 250 and I had to go to a place that needed more than 600. This day when I asked you about school fees and you said, I'll go ask your mother. Yes, I could have still asked about mom, about the same school fees, but how you said it, that tone has stayed with me for a while. Without that introspection and without having cultivated a sense of inwardness, you're not able to receive this kind of need and validation that somebody requires from you, whether it's a child or a friend or even yourself. Because if you do not create that environment, if you do not create that openness, then you will be living with very high walls. And walls are very good, they're beautiful, they can have wallflowers.
You.
But walls also
Keep out all the love.
all the love. Go out there, be brave. At some point in your life, bravery is the act of loving. You have to be brave. You have to do it trembling. You have to make mistakes. And at some point, you stop pushing every little detail of responsibility onto another person. If somebody fucks up your life, yeah, you dust yourself, and it will hurt, it will sting, but most of the time it won't stick on you. It will be more about who they are as a person, rather than who you are as a person, because you know you have done the work, and even though when that unfortunate event or thing happens to you, you know that at least I did try, and I did show up intentionally, and there's very little room left for you to doubt yourself, to still scar yourself that I was not enough, I was not given love enough. You know that you've done enough love, and you know that you've cultivated that sense of nurturing, that sense of showing up, that sense of dignity, that sense of small little loves that lives around us. And sometimes we don't always need to get love from romance or friends. We get it from pets, we get it from acts of services that we do to street kids, to courses, to conversations like this. This will reach a lot of people, and how so much of a healing we keep doing through these conversations. Yeah.
Absolutely, I love that. Jags, do you want to say something before I close?
I just want to add that sometimes it's also nice to give love, because when you give, it sort of help with the one that you're lacking, but if you go ahead refusing to dispense or to give that love, sometimes you're stuck at the one that you did not receive. I have found out that when you give something, so for example, when somebody does something bad to me, like refuses to pick my call, and then he's calling back.
Are you talking about me?
No.
Why are you feeling that?
You have
Subtitles.
problems that are well documented. We will not go back to them. So if somebody is calling you and they refuse to pick yours 3 days ago, are you refusing to call, to receive because of what they did? But sometimes when you pick that call and you feel so proud of how mature you are, so I think whatever you demand or think should have happened to you, if you give it now, sometimes it changes things.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes you feel better and proud that at least they refuse to do it, but I have the opportunity to do it. And that gives you a little bit of happiness. But I've realized that when you are stuck on the other and refusing to give yourself, then it becomes worse for you. So neutralize it by giving, neutralize it by doing the things that were never done to you. And also goes back to parenting, actually. If you parent well, you say, look what my father should have done. Look what my mother should have done. Look how my sisters should have treated me. This is how humans should be treated, and you feel good about it, you know. But you can imagine that you are treated so badly, and you are seeing your own child also in a corner, coiled up. I mean, it's a
our situation that you
Yeah.
It's
Because
really
you're in
terrible.
a position to do better.
Yeah, it's really terrible because it is in fact, in that child, you're seeing yourself, and that is even more damaging.
True.
But if you're seeing your child is happy and smiling, it's different. Yeah.
Shaka, would you like to say something? Parting shot?
All I'd say is, I've been thinking about this. Like when I look around, if you look around our table, and even the handsome Jags who's on the mic, no one here had the kind of parents who would kiss them goodnight or, buy them Christmas gifts or whatever. But we've all made it, in a way in life. We're surviving and we're living and we are all capable of doing great things and we've all done great things. So I hope this episode helps someone who's stuck in a situation where they're currently in the middle of it and they feel like they won't get out of it or there's no life out of this. Just check around this table. See, everyone here is living an independent and good life, I would think. I don't know. Let me
In
just
our
say,
own right.
In our own right, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is like whatever is going through, no matter what your parents do to you, I feel like that's something we need to tell people who are going through the conversation, who are going through the situation. Like whatever you're going through, imagine they won't break you. They can try, but they won't break you. Don't let them break you.
I love that. Guys, hii conversation itafika 2 hours nisipokatisia hapa. And I mean, the whole evening we've just been getting really deep and emotional. I cried. I might have to go home and cry a bit some more or when the camera stop rolling. But I'm always happy to bring conversations that leave you asking yourself questions. And for this episode, I'd love for it to ask you questions for yourself about like, am I healing? Am I moving towards becoming a better person, or am I just repeating the cycles that I've been through because I'm a victim and my parents did this to me and I should be stuck